Hello everyone, I'm Rosphere, and in this video we're going to talk about Classic WoW Season of Mastery, a lot of the changes that Blizzard has been making and is making to the game, and the release date of Season of Mastery, and how that lines up with the release date of Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalkers. Alright, so jumping right into it, we have a change to Mage Boosting, and it's basically been nerfed to the point where it's probably not going to be worth it to actually do this, and I really like this change because Mage Boosting in Classic WoW had such a detrimental effect on the open world for low levels, to the point where if you were leveling through quests, you basically saw nobody out in the open world. Everything just looked dead, even though it wasn't. There was a lot of people playing the game. They were just AFK watching Netflix while somebody else boosted them through a dungeon. And honestly, that's not super fun. It's not why people play World of Warcraft, or it's not the reason why Classic WoW was so good, I should say. And it had this vicious cycle where I knew specifically people who were farming gold by boosting players in dungeons. And while that's a legitimate way to make gold, they were also selling that gold for real money. And then the people that were buying that gold were in turn paying the booster with the gold to boost them through the dungeons. So they were essentially just paying real money to boost through these dungeons, especially new players. Because if you're a new player and you come into the game and you start leveling, you're probably going to play through the first 15 to 20 levels, not realize that this boosting thing is a really huge issue, or a way to level even. And eventually you're going to start figuring out that everybody's in dungeons being boosted, and you're like, well, how do I get gold so I can do that? I'm a low level, I can't really make much gold. So you start buying gold so you can get boosted, so you can get higher level and play with your friends and so on. It's just a vicious cycle that feeds into itself, and I really didn't like it. So I'm really happy that, 6 months into the game, you're probably going to see the world still semi full of people actually leveling and playing the game, dungeon groups going off and so on. It's going to be really interesting to see that, and it's good for the health of the game in general. Another change that I really like is the change that is being implemented against rogues in their pickpocketing farm and so on in BRD. This is a change that specifically is targeting gold farmers and bots. While this is a good change, it's kind of disappointing because it tells me that they're not going to be putting any extra time into moderation, which is the biggest issue with World of Warcraft currently. Is there's really no moderation within the game at all. And I mean, it causes massive problems because it would take one person, it would just take one GM to basically keep BRD clear, be banning all these players, or bots, I should say, be banning all these bots through the open world, checking reports and stuff like that. It would just take one GM, full-time job, just to sit there and basically moderate the world and make sure that these bots are being taken care of and kept out of the game. It's not a huge investment. It's slightly larger than just making a change to the game that affects bots in a small way, but it's not a huge investment as far as money goes, especially for a company Blizzard's size. I mean, it's not going to hurt Bobby to take a little hit to his money there. Yeah. So those are the two changes that I'm looking forward to the most. The other changes actually are for Season of Mastery are the changes coming to raids, and I'm really excited for those too. Blizzard even hinted at a hard mode, quote unquote, for Ragnaros, like displaying Ragnaros with legs and stuff. It's like, we'll see. That'd be really cool to have a hard mode in the game, kind of like they do with retail. The last boss has a hard mode that they didn't really beta test, and it's like this extra thing for people to do. That would be really cool. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, the changes that are coming to raids are in Molten Core specifically. All the enemies' health is doubled. That's including trash. Magmadar, for example, spawns core hounds during the fight and spawns more fires that do way more damage. So it's going to incentivize people to actually be using Fear Ward and things like that much more often. It's going to be a lot harder for the Alliance on that fight because they don't have Tremor Totems. Yeah, so that fight is going to be fairly interesting. It's got some good changes to it. Gehennis, the ads are harder. That's basically it for him. Gar, he spawns ads that rush the range and explode and do a knockback. That's really interesting because there's a lot of fights in this in the dungeon here, or in the raid, I should say, that really incentivize you to full clear or mostly full clear an area to be able to do the boss, because you need a really big area to keep the players spread out in order to actually be able to kill the boss. I'm forgetting his name. the Baron. Baron has similar mechanics where you have to spread out for that fight, and then he does 3 bombs instead of just 1, which leave air. They leave fire on the ground so that you can't stand in after you explode, so it does more damage, and you can't just drop them all in the same spot. It's forcing you to use much larger areas within the raid to actually clear the raid. So the speed clearing is not going to be anywhere near the same because you can't skip hardly any trash. You can skip some of it, obviously, but there's going to be massive areas that you need to actually be able to do these bosses. Until people start finding things, I'm sure they will. But either way, you're going to need much larger spaces to do these bosses, so you got to clear more trash and so on. So it's going to be much more interesting. I am looking forward to the raids in Season of Mastery. And I should say at this point that I will probably be playing Season of Mastery, but much more casually than I played Classic WoW. I'm not taking time off work for it. I'm not taking any special... I'm not doing anything special for Classic Season of Mastery. I'm just going to play the game and enjoy it. I might raid. I don't know yet. We'll see. But yeah, I will more than likely be playing the game. As far as the release date goes, November 16th, I believe, is the release date for Season of Mastery. And that's an interesting release date because it's a full week before the release date of Endwalkers for Final Fantasy XIV. And people are saying that Blizzard's trying to take away subscribers or hold as many subscribers away from Final Fantasy XIV as possible. I actually don't think that's the case this time around because I know if you work at Blizzard, I'm sure you know that there's no way that Classic Season of Mastery will ever compete with Endwalkers. I got to be honest, if they released on the same day, I would be playing Endwalkers and not Season of Mastery because fuck Blizzard. I just fuck Blizzard, right? It's not even anything having to do with Season of Mastery not being, an interesting prospect to play. It's just I don't like Blizzard as a company, and if I have to choose between Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, because of that, I'm definitely picking Final Fantasy, even if Final Fantasy wasn't as good. But with that being said, Endwalkers releases a full week afterwards. I don't think that Blizzard's trying to interfere with that in a way. I think they're just trying to lock in people's subs for a month or 2 or 3 to end this quarter with, right? Because it makes sense for Blizzard to say, release it a week before, get a bunch of people who are taking time off from Final Fantasy, getting ready for Final Fantasy, taking breaks, and so on, so that when they come back to Final Fantasy, it feels really fresh. A lot of people do that, right? Myself included. I take time off from a game before an expansion releases and stuff like that, just so that I'm super fresh going into it, and I'm, can really fully enjoy the experience. So I think that what Blizzard's doing is they know that, and they're going to lock in people's subs. A lot of people forget about their sub after they do it, so they'll get that sub for a week. People will play through for about a week. Endwalkers will come out, and everybody will forget about Season of Mastery. A bunch of people are going to leave and go play Endwalkers. But they've already got your sub for the end of the 4th quarter. And I just think that's it. That's the whole reason. They're not trying to compete with Final Fantasy at all this time around. They're just trying to lock in a few extra subs to boost their numbers so that they can look better to the stockholders, right? That's literally it with Blizzard. They don't care about the player or anything like that. They're not trying to compete with another game. They're just trying to lock in your subs at the end of the year. That's it. So, yeah, that's the whole reason why they're doing that. Yeah. Also there was the cat mount for retail World of Warcraft. Isn't that a piece of shit? I wouldn't even have known this had come out, but I just randomly had it on my YouTube front page. Somebody talking about this cat mount that they just put out. That's another thing. They're trying to boost their numbers for the end of the quarter, obviously. They're putting out this cat mount that, honestly, the artwork on it looks amazing. The artist who worked on that is exceptional. But it's very clear that they're putting it out towards the end of the year, trying to boost their numbers and trying to save face just a little bit with the stockholders, because come the end of the 4th quarter, if they're down a lot on revenue and they missed their marks, which they're more than likely going to, there's a good chance that their stock's going to drop even further, and they're in a downward spiral that could honestly, I don't think it will be, but it could honestly lead to the end of the company, at least on Blizzard's side, not Activision's side. It could end up with a amicable divorce. I don't know. Maybe Blizzard splits from Activision, but the damage to Blizzard has already been done. The people who work for Blizzard at this point are mostly trash people. And I say that because they're willing to work for basically slave wages. And as the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. And if you work at Blizzard and you live in Irvine, you're basically doing it for free because you don't make enough money to live where you work, right? Like, that's just how it is at Blizzard. Like, you're basically working for nothing. And the people who work for Blizzard and will allow people to do stuff like that to them are just trash human beings. I mean, it's just my honest opinion. And then on top of that, you have all the changes, like trying to placate not players, but placate news outlets with all this sexual harassment shit by removing sexualized images, or not even sexualized images, but just women within a video game and replacing them with fruit bowls and things like that. And then in the past, we don't want to do bikini armor or whatever because it doesn't make sense, and some people get offended by it. It's like, okay, you make a game where you have shoulder pads that weigh 200 pounds apiece that magically make you stronger. Why can't I wear something that has less coverage but magically gives me more armor? Like, you see the double standard there? Like, how moronic that is? I've never understood that, right? Like, as a warrior, it's kind of cool every once in a while, like if you're a tank, to have a massive, like, plate body and be covered in, like, just massive, like, armor clad, looking like, just Dreadnought, for example, is a good example of that. Just looking like an absolute badass, or even tier 6, for example. Completely covered, everything's like, yep, nothing can hurt me. But every once in a while, it's like, okay, I'd rather look like a barbarian wearing a couple leather straps, going around in a loincloth with, 2 big-ass hammers and just smash the shit out of stuff, just rushing through things. But you can't look like that because people might get offended if you're a lady. Right? Like, it's like, what the fuck? Anyways, I'm rambling at this point. Thank you all for watching. I have a bunch of other videos coming out here soon. Some on video games, some on not, some politics, stuff like that. So, yeah, stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next one.